We're going into our next question of the day, guys. It's another Cartesian plane question, very important for your trig. So let's take a look. It says, if cos of 2 theta is equal to negative 5 over 6, where 2 theta is an element of 180 degrees and 270 degrees. Guys, that means that this angle that we're working with sits in our third quadrant, okay? Because this is 180, that is 270, okay? But also very important, guys, double the angle is 2 theta, okay? Must remember that, very important. It says calculate without using a calculator. Your teachers will know, guys, don't use a calculator. The value in the simplest form of, number 1, sine of 2 theta. Okay, that's great. We are using the same angle, so we don't even need to manipulate to find theta just yet. Okay, so what does this cos of 2 theta mean? It means that we've got our ratio. Remember, cos is equal to x over r. So we know immediately that x is equal to negative 5 because we are in quadrant 3. We have a negative x and a negative y. Okay, so x is equal to negative y, r is equal to 6, and we need to find y. Remember, y squared is equal to r squared minus x squared from Pythagoras. So y squared is equal to 36 minus negative 5 squared is positive 25. Okay, so that means that y squared is 11, and so y equals the square root of 11. So we've got all of our important values, x, r, and y. Sine of 2 theta, because we're dealing with the same angle, we can use the same values. So sine of an angle is equal to y over r. Okay, we have found our y. It is the square root of 11. Okay, but what you guys need to remember, very important, if you look here, we are in the third quadrant, which means that y is negative. So make sure you fill in that negative. So y over r is negative the square root of 11 over r, which is 6. Okay, simple, easy peasy. The next one, sine squared of theta. Okay, how do we find sine squared of theta? Okay, well, we've been working with, immediately at the beginning, we were given cos of 2 theta is equal to negative 5 over 6. Okay, in your formula sheet, you know that cos of 2 theta is equal to 1 minus 2 sine squared of theta. Okay, if it says, guys, without using a calculator, you are not allowed to use a calculator to find theta, so you have to manipulate. Cos of 2 theta is equal to 1 minus sine squared of theta. It is one of the identities you get given. So we know that cos of 2 theta is negative 5 over 6. And we're trying to find sine squared of theta. So 1 minus 2 times what we're trying to find is negative 5 over 6. So that means that negative 5 over 6 minus 1 is equal to negative 2 sine squared of theta. Okay, so if we keep going, guys, if you feel uncomfortable dealing with your fractions, this is where you can use a calculator. Just make sure you input it the way you have written it out perfectly. Okay, so negative 11 over 6 is equal to negative 2 sine squared theta. Okay, and now just to isolate that sine squared theta, which is what we're trying to solve for, we divide both sides by negative 2. So negative 11 over 6 divided by 2 is equal to sine squared of theta. Okay, but remember, we're not dividing by just 2, we're dividing by negative 2. Make sure you put in your signs. And if your answer is still stuck on your calculator as negative 11 over 6, simple stuff, you just divide by negative 2, which means that sine squared of theta is equal to 11 over 12, which makes sense, guys, because it is a square. It cannot be a negative number. It will always end up being positive. Okay, so guys, when you get questions like this, if they say without a calculator, odds are they're going to ask you to find x, y, or r, whichever one is missing. They will give you the other two. It's up to you to remember, yeah, because of Pythagoras, there is a relationship there. Okay, so go and work out all three variables. If you have x, y, and r, you can find any of the trig ratios, tan, cos, sine, all in terms of x, y, and r. So go and work those out. Figure out which quadrant you are in. Very important, guys. You might get to a positive answer, but because you're in a certain quadrant, it needs to be negative. So make sure you take note of which quadrant you need to be in.